Welcome to the Hawkeye Sidekick podcast. Suppose we can switch our attention to the Guinness Six Nations round 3. We'll start with Rome, Italy, Ireland. I suppose, Liam, from your perspective, Ireland 15 hasn't been announced yet. Do you expect any changes to the side to face Italy on Saturday?
I actually don't, Mark. I think it's a pretty settled side, and they're going to show due respect to Italy, you know, who are now a good competitive team. What we were hoping for, in a funny way, even before Six Nations began, people were earmarking this game as a game where we would start our other 10 options, you know. And it just so happens that it looks like Johnny Sexton is going to be ruled out for this game. Ross Byrne would be one of the few kind of major changes at 10, I reckon. Can't see much else happening. I can see on the bench, what I'd like to see is the likes of Ryan Baird for sure, Gavin Coombs. I'd like to see Jimmy O'Brien. I'll get good cameos, maybe good 30 minutes possibly. And yeah, look, I mean, in for Henderson, in straight away for Tadhg Byrne. And yeah, I think the rest of the team will pretty much pick itself.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the fine balancing act here to continue with a team on form. You don't want to be tinkering things too badly here heading into a Scotland game in Murrayfield. I think, as you say, the Italian attacking mentality has been seen to full effect, particularly last year. Capuzzo has 241 metres to his name in the Six Nations Championship. So, I mean, Italy would like this to be a bit open, a bit loose, to allow their backfield to really kind of express themselves. And look, Italy's lineout has to be respected as well, with Federico Russa as well leading the lineout success rate on 15 so far. But I suppose from an Ireland perspective, I agree with you. I think changes will be at a premium here. And the hope here is that we can close this game off pretty quickly early in the third quarter to clear the bench here, particularly. But I don't see Andy Farrell taking the eye off the ball here from this Italian team, who on their day will pose you problems. But I suppose, Liam, looking at the breakdown work of Italy against England in Twickenham, it has to be vastly more improved than what it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it does, because otherwise, look, the other thing that could option is that it could be a hard day for Italy if Ireland can build up ahead of steam in the first half, get 4 tries, game over, and that conceivably could happen as well. So Italy at home, pumped up. This is probably one of the games that they're realistically aiming to try and win. Probably along with the Wales game. Let's be honest about it. In terms of fixtures, we'll have a tough opening 20 minutes. I believe that, and we have to start well. Exactly.
I think it's very similar to our Principality Stadium trip to Wales. You cut the oxygen supply off the home crowd immediately, get on the front foot, get a few early scores in front, really dampen down the enthusiasm. I think in scrummaging department as well, Ireland really should be testing out this Italian front five as well. I think the England pack really did show in terms of their attacking maul. Italy really had no answers there as well. So I think there's an awful lot of upside here for Ireland, really, to kind of build the point tally up here and then let the open play develop in due course. I suppose, Liam, in terms of Ireland here, Tadhg Byrne obviously sidelined here. Sexton, we're assuming, will not be risked for this game. Any predictions here? What's the prediction for you for this game?
I think Italy, as now seems the case, they're capable of scoring tries. So I think Italy will get 3 tries, but I think we probably will get 6. So I in the end, I think it'll probably turn out to be something like 45, 21, 22. Yeah, that's my prediction. So about 20-something odd points win.
Yeah, it's going to be gorgeous weather in Rome as well. 19 degrees, partly sunny, 19-kilometre wind as well, so it'll be negligible. So I think from that perspective here, I think Ireland, want to keep on the front foot after that French performance here. I don't think standards are going to drop here, unfortunately, for Italy. I think Lamaro could be a huge loss for Italy as well in the back row. And now we're looking at depth chart. we're looking at depth chart clearly from an Italian perspective, particularly in the front row and particularly in the pack. And I think that's where Ireland probably have a massive upper hand here, Liam. I'm probably going 25 points here for Ireland going away. I generally do, and probably a bonus point in the bag early here as well. Probably, hopefully before half time, but probably early third quarter. Because, I just think Italy, there's an awful lot to be sorted out given that England performance. They showed glimpses against France, but they went back a few steps for me, particularly in that English performance. So I think it's 25-point win for Ireland here, and it sets us up very well for that Murrayfield Test match. I suppose we can then go to the Principality Stadium, if we do have a match at all here, Liam, between Wales and England. Still an awful lot of strife between the players, player union, the Professional Rugby Board of Wales. There's a bit of a backdrop to this game against an England side who got their first win under their belt against Italy, far from perfect, but will be coming to the Cardiff full of confidence. I suppose if a game does take place, do you give any chance for Wales to get a result here?
Yeah, of course I would. Yeah, they're playing England at home. Always have a chance. And they've given some right shellikins to England the last few years, like right thumpings, So, but and potentially, the whole backdrop to this, if the game goes ahead, the Wales players' backs to the wall sort of effort can turn out another way. So yeah, I give them a good chance. I think England, they had that maul game against Italy, but not much else. They still have, I suppose, need the time to redevelop their game more, to tune it more. Yeah, they're England are work in progress. I know you could say that Wales are in a far worse predicament, but I always look at this as a once-off fixture, because I think Wales will be up for this game for sure.
Like, given the backdrop here in terms of players, the unity in the camp here, Gatland has been quick to point out that the players have been very professional in terms of training sessions. I still feel that there's a massive performance in this Welsh squad. I genuinely do. Just given what's happened against Scotland, against Ireland, that there needs to be a reaction here. And particularly with this wrangle with the Professional Rugby Board of Wales here, particularly on the 60 cap rule, representation on the player body to the Professional Rugby Board, and also this performance bonus, fixed variable negotiation here. I feel there's a bit of a backlash here, I would think, from a Welsh perspective, but I still point here to the Welsh front five versus England front five. And on form right now, I think the England unit is far superior here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would argue that the Welsh front five is the weakest now in the Six Nations, very much so. But a backs to the wall effort. I somehow, it's kind of more heart ruling overhead that Wales will get the victory. But yeah, I think it will go ahead, and I think it'll be kind of almost last minute thing. But the consequences of not going ahead would be absolutely catastrophic in terms of TV money, in terms of the games already played. What do you do with the games already played? And in terms of the championship, do you award the tie to England? It's incomprehensible as to what would happen in that scenario. But I think that the main issues will all be addressed, going to the head for the Welsh Rugby Union. But it shouldn't have come to this. So late in the season, To be fair to the players too, you do wonder, has it affected their performances both recently at club level and at international level? And these guys, at very least, should have the option of playing abroad if the contracts aren't going to be up to scratch. And I think that 60-player cap rule will be scrapped as well.
I'd say it's probably been scrapped as we record this podcast, Liam. I just don't see that a future on there. Freedom of players to move here, particularly given the contract wrangle, the situation in the Welsh regions particularly. I'd even think a complete and utter root and branch review from the grassroots to the regions to the international side. It's broken. It's completely broken in Wales. So I think now it's a case of resetting. I think that 60 cap rule will go. Otherwise, I think Gatland may go as well, to be perfectly honest. It's just a very, it's been a bad year for Welsh rugby, let's put it like that way, in terms of maybe some early season optimism, particularly with the Ospreys in Europe, has been completely and utterly distinguished given this strike threat. And as you say yourself, if this game were to be postponed, the integrity of the competition gets completely and utterly into disrepute. Like, I suppose you'd really kind of say England would get the 5 points here, wouldn't they? It would be a walkover. It would be a forfeit.
It would be a walkover, yeah. That's exactly what it would be, yeah.
So I think from that perspective here, for other teams that would be kind of playing Wales afterwards, I think there could be a few kind of ears pricked a little bit. So I feel anyway this game will go ahead, but maybe there's a protest in the offing here. I'm not sure. Hopefully the players from Wales do kind of put their best foot forward, but I think given the circumstances here, Liam, it has to be weighing the Welsh players' minds, the families here, in terms of their security, their long-term future, their occupation. So I think it has definitely impacted some of their performance, particularly against Scotland and Ireland. But again, this is a home tie here where they really need to embrace it and really feed off the energy of the Welsh home support, who will be rooting for them and really backing them to the hilt here.
Yeah, look, I really do feel it's almost like a Baxter Wall one-off fixture here. Really, you know, Wales have done it in the past. They have a good record in Cardiff against England, and I believe that record will continue.
Yeah, so you're tipping Wales, obviously, with the emotion of the occasion.
Just about. I know we could say, yes, England have the stronger front five and have a bit more form, obviously, but I just can't write off Wales at this time.
For me, it's all going to be down on selection. I think, you know, the likes of Justin Tipperick, Toby Faletau, I think definitely have to be included. I would even see Alan Jones coming back in as a spiritual leader of this group. You know, particularly the context of where we get into this game, the threat of strike action. They need leaders on the pitch. And I think for Gatland, he's going to go for his tried and trusted here one more time. And but I really do think here England will be functional. They will look to get the job done. I think maybe England really narrowly winning this, I think by 3-5. But again, this occasion could have a life of its own. I think with the crowd, the players, we've seen it on occasion when players are against the wall, a reaction happens. And I would not be surprised either if Wales did pull out the result. But I suppose I'm just calling on inform and what I've seen so far here, Liam. And I think England just about. But again, this is an England-Welsh derby game. You know full well, being over in Wales, over and back, that it's a local derby. Form out the window. This could salvage a season here for Wales and Welsh supporters if they could get the win. And I suppose, Liam, concluding France, Paris, France v Scotland, my God, that's a Sunday matinee to really look forward to.
Yeah, and a tremendous game to look forward to. And look, the implications is, I mean, if you think about it, if France were to lose this, they'd have lost 2 games in the Six Nations. They're mid-table, you know. Where for Scotland, win this, and they, I would argue, have the best fixture list left to win the Grand Slam, Triple Crown, whatever you want to call it, the Six Nations title. I mean, they really do, because they have Ireland at home, and then they have Italy away, and it's just like that's pretty much the perfect ending in the Six Nations for them. And yeah, I think they have a chance. I think the Scots have a chance. The last few games they play against France, you know, it's been very open. I always find those games to be quite open. Some of those open in the Six Nations. Be interesting to see if Finn Russell can work his magic again, if he's given the space to do so, or if he's obviously targeted by the French. You would probably just have to say France by 5 points. I just think they're not going to lose a major game like this before the World Cup at home.
I think this is a huge game. You can say a huge game for Scotland, but I think even more so for France. I think you've set the context perfectly here. A loss at home here, Liam, heading into a host nation World Cup could really raise a few doubts and a few confidence issues from Fabien Galtier and the French squad. They can probably consolidate themselves, or really kind of state that last game out in the Viva was an outstanding test match between Ireland and France in the Viva, and the standard was impeccable. This is a game where France really need to get back on the front foot and really start to assert a bit of dominance, particularly in the pack. Felt the pack-wise was a little bit subdued during that Ireland performance, and maybe that's going to be maybe a key part of that game here for France, really, is to really look at the pack, really test out the front five of Scotland, because, look, Scotland had a record win over Wales, but people tend to forget the first 40 minutes of that game in Wales. Scotland were extremely nervous, and if they kind of deal with that same approach and mindset against France, I can see France rolling all over them here, Liam.
Yeah, look. Obviously, like any team going to Paris in the spring, you really need to start well, because if France get up ahead of steam, they're gone. They're out of sight. So yeah, I take your point that that's absolutely crucial. I think that, what you're going to see again from I suppose the French is good tactical kicking again, from fullback and from Dupont as well. Trying and get good field position. Again, it'll be interesting to see who they pick in terms of out half. That's quite a big call as well. The French physicality will be brought to bear. It's going to be a different game basically than the game against Ireland in Dublin. That sort of free-flowing game, and it'll be a game that will suit the French power.
Yeah, I think French will look to make this a little bit more structured, given who you have a 10 for Scotland with Finn Russell, who's playing absolutely immaculate rugby at the moment from a playmaking perspective at 10. So, again, it's evenly poised. As you say, Scotland will have no fear coming to Paris, given the 2021 results where they beat France 27-23. You can argue this is a different French team to that in 2021, but still, you have so many fascinating matchups here. The likes of Ferguson against Aldred, you have Dupont versus Russell, Penno versus Van der Merwe. So there's, across the pitch here, I think it'll be an intriguing just to see. I think pack will be fundamental here. And I'm really intrigued to see how Scotland stack up against a very physically abrasive French pack, really. And the French pack don't typically deliver two bad performances in a row here.
No, you're right there. But again, it's kind of funny that Scotland will want the open, free-flowing game, and France very much won't, and France won't allow them to get into that game. So basically, France are just gonna, it's gonna be brutal, stick up your jumper rugby in that first half, I feel, before maybe then France kind of open up a bit in the second half.
Yeah, I think there will be certain time when the likes of Ntamak will let his back line really express themselves. Penno, as we know, is an absolute try-scoring predator. Doesn't need much for that. So I'll just be intrigued to see how Scotland really do set up here. I mean, their pack, as you've kind of indicated here, as you've kind of hinted here, it's like pack is everything here for Scotland. Getting the set piece correct, defensive maul wise, can they really kind of be that kind of platform here as well for Scotland? So I think it's intriguingly poised. I mean, geez, if Scotland were to pull a result out here in Paris, it's a huge game on Sunday week, isn't it? Given Ireland in Murrayfield and you have Triple Crown. And, it's really kind of, more pressure being applied. And I suppose from Scotland's perspective, 2 from 2, the pressure gets applied now. The players and fans of other teams are really looking at Scotland now as a bit of a threat. So now there's more of a, target on their back here to see if they can continue these performances. So it's an intriguing game on Sunday. I think there's an awful lot to lose for both sides here.
Yeah, and I mean, look already. It's been the 1990s since the Scots put 2 Six Nations wins back to back together. you get the feeling if Scotland could pull this off, I mean, like maybe their name is on the trophy this season. You know what I mean? There's a bit of destiny about it. But yeah, it's look, in terms of the weekend games, it's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Exactly. So call it for me, Liam. Who do you fancy here? France or Scotland?
I think that it's going to be actually tight enough for the first maybe 55 minutes. France then to pull away a bit. But I mean, 15-point win in the end for the French.
I think it might be a little bit smaller, the winning margin here, but I think Scotland definitely will show a few good flashes, particularly in the opening period. I'm just looking at squad depth here from Scotland. That 23-man squad is going to be ultimately tested. Now, you can counter by saying, yes, they have, done very well in terms of the bench, particularly against England and Wales, but no disrespect England and Wales. I think France are a bit above those two teams here. So I just feel squad depth-wise, France may have the upper hand here a little bit. I think maybe 10 points here, but I think Scotland will give as good as they got. So yeah, I'll go France here. But because, I mean, the ramifications of a French loss here is huge. For Fabien Galtier, French management, the board, and the French public heading into hosting a 2023 Rugby World Cup, that, a team that was on the up is now having a few doubts, having a few concerns, heading into a pool with New Zealand. It's not where you want to be if you're France, if this result doesn't go their way on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, that would be two back-to-back losses, and as you said, the Paris Citadel would not quite be the same heading into the World Cup, and serious questions would be asked of the French, I suppose, mentality and their potential to win the World Cup.
I think it's intriguingly poised. I'd be interested just to see how France have evolved and how they respond and bounce back. They'd had their 14-game unbeaten run snapped by Ireland. So I think from that perspective, it'll be interesting just to see the bounce back ability of France here, and also Scotland. I think Scotland come into it now with less pressure on them. And I sincerely hope that Scotland really do deliver a magnificent performance here and really test France early. But I mean, as I said, I think that French pack could hold an awful lot of answers here come the final whistle. I suppose, Liam, we'll leave it there. It was a lengthy one. Next week, I suppose, we'll review the round 3 Six Nations games here and look ahead to round 4, and also look at the action from South Africa and URC, see if Ulster were to salvage anything in the Sharks, and Glasgow looking to kind of continue their winning run against the Lions. I suppose until then, Liam, have a great weekend, and sure, we'll chat next week.
Yeah, after Six Nations. Good luck.
Thank you for listening to this podcast episode. If you liked what you heard in this podcast, why not subscribe to the Hawkeye Sidekick podcast on either Amazon, Spotify, YouTube or Twitter platforms. You can also follow me at Hawkeye Sidekick on Facebook and Twitter for the latest sporting opinions, articles and reports.